The following edition of Connecticut Valley Views is made possible by Windsor Federal Savings, with offices in Windsor, Bloomfield, Granby, and East Windsor. Neighbors helping neighbors since 1936. Join me, Susan Regan, host of Connecticut Valley Views, the most widely watched interview program on Connecticut Public Access TV. Proof to the people is the byline, insight without bias, generating a 360 perspective. Our mission is to focus on topical subjects with thought-provoking interviews regarding municipal leadership, current affairs, educational and political topics, as well as key destination points in New England.
And here's your host for Connecticut Valley Views, Susan Regan.
Hello, and thank you for joining me today. We are at Watkinson School in Hartford, Connecticut, and my featured guest today is Sophie Brown. She's a 13-year-old 8th grader at Watkinson, and she's also joined by her mother, Alicia Brown. Thanks for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you here, Sophie.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, listen, our subject is an editorial article written by you, and it was published by the Hartford Courant February 4th under the heading Fresh Talk. The name of your submission was I'm Not Just One of the Guys. Tell me a little bit, Sophie, about why you wrote it, how did you come to submit it, any help that you had with your teacher or direction by your teacher as to the subject matter and the format.
Well, I wrote the article because in our writing class we read articles and we write what we think about them, and each article has its own topic. And this one was gender discrimination against women or sports inequality. So we all wrote little free writes, and we formed them into an essay. And that's how I kind of started to form my my piece. And I wrote my piece because I had a personal experience, and I wanted to let people know that discrimination against women is still going on today. And I just wanted to kind of
give yourself an opportunity to express that.
Right, and talk about it throughout my piece.
Do you think any of your other friends feel that way about it too? Have they experienced it too?
Well,
is this a group thing, or have you just personally felt that that's the way it was for you?
Well,
because you're obviously an outstanding athlete.
Yeah. Lots of my friends, they don't compete at a high level like me, but a lot of my friends are athletes, and they haven't really experienced this because most of the sports that they play, like basketball, soccer, field hockey, they're mostly like boys and girls teams. But for me, there was a co-ed team, and I kind of experienced this because of the mixed gender. So I don't think a lot of them experienced what I've experienced, but I'm pretty sure that they've come across some stuff.
Some
like
of it.
They know.
All right. Now, when you've come across this was particularly, and I think it was mentioned in your article, it was specifically there was an incident in a tennis match or something. You were playing on both the boys' teams and the girls' teams. Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about that incident, how that occurred.
Well, at my school, we don't because it's not a public school. We don't have like hundreds and hundreds of kids. It's a really small school, and some of our teams are mixed genders because we don't have enough for a boys and girls team.
Okay, so you fill in.
So, yeah, so we're all on one team, like a co-ed team, but we play boys and girls, boys and girls separate teams. So in 6th grade, I was selected to be on the varsity team, and I thought that there would be a boys team and a girls team, but I was wrong, and me and like 3 other girls were playing on the boys team. And we would play boys, and we would kind of experience like
animosity?
Yeah, against like with boys and girls playing each other, and tension between the opponents, and it was kind of just, that's where it all started and stuff like that.
All right, so this I guess we'll call him a gentleman. Let's be ladies and call him a gentleman. So this fellow said to you, made some comment to you, and said, I don't know why I have to play with you, or whatever it was he said. And how did you react to that? And how do you think girls should react to it?
Well, at first I was kind of shocked. Like I know that's never really happened to me before. So I kind of took offense. But then I kind of realized that this is kind of a social norm that boys and girls play against each other. So I kind of realized that it's not a big deal. I should probably just let this roll off my shoulder. So I didn't really, as I thought about it, I didn't really take offense too much as it went on, but
Yeah, and this rolls into real life too, because as you grow up, you're going to be in other realms and other things, and maybe you'll become a business person, or you'll be, obviously, so you're either going to have to work with men, or you're going to have to be their boss or supervisor, or you're going to have to work for them. So there are always going to be these ever-changing roles. It's kind of like when you play soccer, and sometimes when you're a halfback, and sometimes you're playing very forward on the thing, sometimes you're playing back and you're playing defense. I mean, it depends, because you have a rotating position. Well, this is going to happen in life too, and these are some of the things that you've been learning. And so when you wrote this article, were you writing it to express your situation? Were you writing it to help other young women to understand it? What did you feel you would do by putting this article out there?
Well, I felt that I would raise awareness of gender discrimination against women, because it's a wide known topic, but it's not very discussed today. And even though there are some rules and stuff that girls and boys are equal, it's just because of their rules doesn't mean that the problem's solved. And I kind of just wanted to share my personal experience with others, and just share that this is a still well-known problem in today's world.
All right, well, that's good. All right, I'm going to turn to your mom, Alicia, Mrs. Brown. You're a businesswoman. You're a CEO of your own company?
I do. I own a small company located in Bloomfield. It's called Karma Cleanse. We press organic vegetable and fruit juices. Prior to that, my old life, I was an attorney for several years.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, now, do you think that leadership and entrepreneurial spirit, do you think that that's been a secret to your success in, I mean, this competitive thing, this thing? I mean, you obviously had to grow up, and you've been interested a bit in sports and so forth. How do you think that has engendered that into Sophie? Do you think that that's had it?
Well, I think, Sophie's fortunate to be not only by me, but be surrounded by some really strong, wonderful women. She has, she's lucky she has her grandmother that lives here. She knows both of her grandmothers. One is in Michigan. She's lucky to have met both of her great-grandmothers. She's got wonderful aunts. So she's lucky. She's supported by some really strong, wonderful women, and to encourage her to kind of step outside of her comfort zone. So
you think then that where Sophie gets this attitude is not only your own independent thinking and your parental guidance on this thing, but she's obviously these experiences are helping to give her fortitude going forward. So it's a little combination of everything, right? They're external and internal influences. But do you think then the family thing, that's been a great fortitude for her to have other strong women in the family?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, we've always encouraged her to do what she wants to do. And I think being here at Watkinson School has been amazing for her. They've really have encouraged her to step outside her comfort zone, have been a big champion of her playing as a 6th grader on a varsity team. So I think Watkinson has also played a big part of some of her confidence now as well.
Sure, because it's the soil in which you grow up that determines how the plant will grow.
Sure.
And so everything that around you that helps to support that thought process and gives credence to that you're going in the right direction. And I think that sometimes, too, that you don't want it to lead to an overconfidence, because then that leads to an arrogance. So I think that it needs to be monitored. You need to have self-awareness. You need to have confidence. You need to be able to have a perspective, though, that other people matter to. And I think sometimes what we see in sports these days, particularly, in some of the baseball and some of the, we see an arrogance there. We don't see a graciousness. I think that when you're a winner, you should be gracious.
Absolutely.
And not arrogant about it. Now, you also have a younger sister. Tell us a little bit about Tessa. She's a competitive rider. She has been down in Florida competing. Is that right, Alicia?
She has. She's been spending the last 12 weeks in Wellington competing in the winter circuit there. Both of my girls are very competitive, and I'm lucky they both support one another. Sophie's been coming down every 3rd weekend to watch her sister in Wellington. Tess is a big cheerleader of Sophie's during her tennis matches. So we're lucky. They both support each other.
And she's 11 years old?
She's 11.
She's 11. So she has a pony. And well, the thing about the horse sport thing, I think, is that men and women have been competing on horses against each other for a long time, whether it's hunter classes, jumper classes, or whether you're doing in any of the disciplines, whether it's dressage, men and women compete equally against each other. But there you've got the horse as the equalizer. So there's some understanding as far as that's concerned. In Sophie's case, it's the one person with the tennis racket, and there isn't that. All right, well, let's come back to you, Sophie, a little bit more. Your current sport is tennis, but you're interested in some other sports as well.
Yes, this year I've been experimenting with many different sports. In the fall, I played soccer for the first time, and in the winter, I played basketball. I also ski on the weekends sometimes, not as much as I used to because I've been traveling up and back to Florida to cheer my sister on with her competitions and stuff. Oh. So every other weekend we would go up to Vermont and ski on a freestyle team, me and my sister.
Okay. So is tennis still your favorite sport?
Yeah, tennis is still my favorite sport. I start up in the spring, and I will be competing like every day and on the weekends as well. Okay.
Well, Title IX, okay, which has been around for about, I think they recently just celebrated 40 years of Title IX, and Title IX for you folks out there is basically equalizing the sports opportunities for women, particularly in the college area, along with the men, so they have an equal opportunity to participate in sports. Now, what do you think about Title IX? Do you know what it means? Do you think it's actually, has it really changed things for women? Do you still see that there's still things that need to be done? What's your feeling about it, Sophie?
Well, actually, as I was preparing my essay, I wrote a free write on Title IX, and I thought that it's a great rule, and it's a really good stepping stone to gender equality with women, but I don't think it's going to solve all of our problems in the future. I think that just by this one rule, it's a great building block, but I think there are lots of rules and things that could be done to help women in sports and such.
Like, for instance, I mean, could you think about, I mean, these are the laws that people have to abide by, so that when a college comes down to determining, they have a budget, and they're going to split that budget up for, okay, this much is going to go to the men's basketball team, and this much is going to go to the women's field hockey team, and this is going to go to the bowling team, and so forth and so on. So if women are getting the opportunity in whatever sport they care to participate in, and they're getting the opportunity. Now, a lot of times when they look at a college campus, they look at the sport that brings in the most revenue, too.
Right.
They're looking at a sport that is going to make a name for the school, that is going to highlight the school, that is going to draw the right students to the school, whether it be of academic achievement, or they're going to try and give, because a lot of times they will give some passes, as it were, to someone they may want for the football team. Their grading may be acceptable as long as they meet certain parameters. So in your mind, what else do you think, what else is missing? Is it our culture? Do you think that guys are not going to welcome women into competing with them against sports? Because I don't see that happening on an everyday basis. Do you? I mean, we don't see tennis matches between men and women all the time. We don't see men and women's soccer teams playing each other. So what in your mind do you think, what else needs to be done? Where are we missing something else for women?
Well, what I think is because men and women competing against each other is not really a social norm. So maybe kind of dipping your toe in the water and kind of just experimenting with boys and girls competing against each other would kind of break the barrier of boys and girls teams. So I think that experimenting with boys and girls would be like a good kind of stepping stone to gender equality and stuff.
All right. Well, because what's going to happen later in life, as I referred to earlier, is that men and women are going to have to work together. They could be working for each other. So if it started at an earlier age, the acceptance that some people are going to have a certain skill set, and you may not be, your sister might like to cook, and she could be interested in that as well as riding horses. But the fact of the matter is you might not be a great cook. So maybe what we have to come to is the realization that we all have a skill set, whether we're male or female. And we need to take that application. Sometimes we want to improve in some areas, but there may be some areas from where we just aren't as good as our friend or our male colleague as they are at something else. So what we need to do is to learn to play our roles on an equal basis. Is that what you've been saying? That
yeah.
People need to find their comfort level.
Yeah, and I think that men aren't as accepting of this because they've grown up knowing that boys are supposed to do boy things and girls are supposed to do girl things, and they're not really supposed to mix. But I think that...
Is that parents' fault? Have parents been doing the wrong thing?
Well, I think that they haven't really been doing the wrong thing. It's just how they've been growing up and how that's been affecting their lives, and that's how they've been brought up, that boys and girls are separate and they do their own thing and they shouldn't be mixed. But I think that at a younger age, boys and girls should be kind of...
Should women be exposed to more things? Like, let's just say that at 16 years old, you want to have, you like driving trucks and you want to learn to, you want to have a big truck, not a little sports car, okay? And that's going to be the vehicle of your choice, all right? And you've got to learn to handle it. That's not going to be so surprising for you, right? Because you're in a comfort role that I can do things as well as guys, so a truck is my choice of vehicle. So if in fact that people learn to, at an earlier age, take on, I won't say the attributes or the characteristics of the opposite gender, but if they get the opportunity to experience some of those things that boys like to do, is that a good thing? Or do we just see girls growing up and just naturally liking dolls?
Well, I think that experimenting with boys doing not like boy things, that it will kind of...
Should they be given cooking classes at
yeah,
younger
like
ages? Okay.
Boys and girls, they shouldn't give separate things. Like when they're born, they shouldn't be given like a blue blanket or a pink blanket or a doll.
That's a good
or
point.
A sports or like a little truck or whatever. I think that there should be kind of not gender biased toys and stuff as they're younger, so they're exposed to mixed genders and different stuff like that.
So exposed to things that the opposite gender would normally like, just in case. And I think we can get into kind of a dangerous area here where they're going to say, oh, are we trying to make people so that they're neutered and they're neither male or female? I think what we're trying to say is that the opportunity to see, just as we learn diversification in life and we learn to enjoy Chinese food, although we never were exposed to it before, we learn to like it, that if we're exposed to things and then they don't seem so strange or different, then perhaps we can learn something from it. I mean, I think this is a general life lesson as well, that one needs to be exposed to other things in order to understand it better and not to have a fear or to avoid it.
Yeah, especially when they're young, they should be exposed to things like that, so they're brought up knowing that it's not weird to be with things that girls normally like or boys normally like. So as they grow up, they don't really have anything against boys and girls mixing with sports or it doesn't even have to be sports, academic-wise, or anything like that.
All right, let me ask you another question now. Since you've written this article, have you gotten any feedback from your friends or outside of, let's say, Watkinson, or have you gotten any feedback from the public? Has anybody commented on your articles?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from my teachers, my classmates, and a lot of people that I haven't heard from in a while. They read my article and they sent me letters in the mail. They sent me...
Did they really? How many did you get?
Yeah, I got like a couple letters in the mail from my old teachers, from people that I met at camp when I was younger, and that really got me thinking that, wow, people really take my article seriously and they really read it and they kind of had their own opinion about that and they chose to share it with me, which I thought was a really great thing.
Yeah. Now, do you think that you doing this has, you've had friends, obviously, and some of the other people in your class that wrote these articles. Do you think this is now, because the Hartford Courant, obviously, picked up on it and chose your piece. When they called you and they said, okay, we're going to use your piece, is that what they did? Did they contact you by phone?
They contacted my writing teacher and she contacted me. So
Okay.
that's how I kind of found out.
Okay, and did they happen to say how many pieces had been submitted? Did they give you any background as to how they chose your piece, or?
Not really. My writing teacher just said they really thought your piece was interesting and they wanted to submit it in the paper. So they didn't really give me that much background, but I had enough.
And when now that you've had this experience and you've had some feedback from the public, and obviously I contacted you because I wanted to have you on as a guest, is this giving you inspiration to write more? I mean, in what way is this giving you inspiration? Obviously, the paper thought it was worthwhile. I wanted to have you on as a guest. People have written you letters. Has this inspired you to write more or speak up more, or what do you think this experience has done for you personally?
It's made me want to do multiple things, like kind of get out there and talk about this issue to people and write about it, because as you said, the Hartford Courant found out about it, you found about it, and a lot of people really enjoyed it. And I think through writing, a lot of people can relate and talk about my topic and stuff.
Have you had neighbors, Alicia, who have commented on it or said, "Gee, I didn't, I was surprised to read the article"? Were they surprised? Were friends and neighbors and stuff surprised?
I don't think
was your family surprised? Your extended family?
I don't think surprised. I think that they thought it was fantastic. Like Sophie said, she's had a lot of great feedback from family and friends, and old teachers, elementary school teachers have reached out to her. There were a lot of comments online from people who read the Courant. So it's been fun to read those, and it's been great to see. We're really proud of her work.
I think that, again, it's a situation where a young person has had a good experience with speaking up. And so what it does is it tells you now going forward, Sophie, that you can, well, we won't say you can change the world, but you can definitely put your opinions out there, and you can have an impact on people. And what you are is you're a role model for other girls to follow, to say, hey, I can speak my mind, I can say what's on my mind, I can formulate it. And I guess most of all, from your writing teacher's perspective, you've done it well, and she followed your, the format that she gave you, and you took some of that experience of an opportunity to write and her directive to put a piece together that actually made sense enough for something like the Hartford Courant, the oldest paper in the United States, to want to publish it and for other people to respond well to it. That whole thing is a very rewarding experience, I think. And having said that, I want to ask you one last thing. You have an interest in other things. You're interested in oceanography, and you're interested in photography and so forth. So, those things, have you gotten a sense where you might want to go with your career path aspirations? You're pretty young, but...
Yeah. Well, as of right now, I'm experimenting with lots of things. I've been doing lots of theater, and I've been in many plays during middle school. I've done photography. I've done experimented with the ocean, and I'm not really sure.
What are you doing with the ocean thing? What have you done with the ocean thing?
Not really that much, but like taking pictures and kind of like with pictures and stuff like that. But I'm not really sure where I want to go with my life right now, but I'm just trying to experiment with different things, and I'm excited to kind of, in high school, maybe join the CAP program at Watkinson, which is theater and the arts and stuff, so maybe I'll get a liking to that, but I'm not really sure where I want to be right now.
Well, what it does is, again, we're talking about being exposed to a lot of things and the opportunity to do so, and certainly Watkinson School has done that. So I want to thank you very much, Alicia. Thank you very much for bringing your daughter over. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Sophie.
You.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you on as a guest. You're very well spoken,
Thank
and
you
obviously,
for having me.
obviously, a very good representation from Watkinson School. Now, I would like to also thank Watkinson School for coordinating the logistics and for hosting us here at this venue. And I would like to read some commentary. This is from her writing teacher, from Sophie's writing teacher. Her name is Fran Stouffer. And she assisted her in writing the article. Obviously, it was Sophie's idea and so forth, but there was some direction from her teacher. And this is quoted from her. In Watkinson's middle school, all students take writing courses, as with the English courses found at other schools. We believe that the students' ability to express themselves clearly in writing is a skill that is critical to their success, especially in the digital age in which we communicate much of our thinking online in words we compose. Specific lessons and practice in writing skills to prepare our students for life in and out of school. I'd also like to give the website, if you'd like to visit Watkinson School website, that's www.watkinson.org. Now, one other mention I would like to take is that we have a publication, and today we spoke about young people, and today I would like to speak about another segment of our community as the veterans. And the veterans in age, they need more assistance. Nothing ages you more than war. On that publication site we have, which you can see through our website, you will be able to donate to our track chair fund, and that is for one of these life-extending vehicles for a Connecticut veteran. You can donate it now. See Track Chair Fund at our online publication site, which is ctvveb.com. You can also see us on Facebook. You can see all of our programs on our website at www.ctvalleyviews.com. This is Susan Regan. Thank you for joining me and bringing proof to the people.
Our thanks to Windsor Federal Savings for making this program possible. Neighbors helping neighbors since 1936.